Welcome to Vitalis Esala Leadership Lab, where management theory becomes real leadership practice. My name is Vitalis Esala. I explore how leaders can actually lead people effectively, not just in theory, but in practice. Before we go any further, if you want leadership insights like this every week, make sure you subscribe so you can be notified when new videos are released. One department blames another. Operations says HR is slowing everything down. HR says leadership never communicates clearly. Sales says operations can't deliver. And leadership keeps saying people just need to collaborate better. But what if the real problem is not the people? What if your organization was designed in a way that naturally creates conflict? Because here's the uncomfortable truth. Many organizations create internal competition, communication breakdowns, and frustration, not because employees are bad people, but because the system itself is fragmented. Here's the truth. The departments often fight each other because the organization was never designed to help them work together effectively. Great leaders understand something many managers miss. Structure shapes behavior. If you have been following me along, you will hear something similar. It is about the structure. The way work is divided, the way communication flows, the way goals are measured. All of those things influence whether people cooperate, compete, or they collaborate. Let's simplify this. Every department in an organization sees the world differently. Finance focuses on cost. HR focuses on people. Operations focuses on efficiency. Sales focuses on speed and customers. And here's the problem. Each department is usually rewarded for optimizing its own goals. If you can remember, your department has goals. Not the organization's goals, though. So what happens? Departments begin protecting themselves. Information gets trapped inside silos. People stop thinking. They stop thinking, how do we succeed together? And start thinking, how do we avoid looking bad? That is where organizational conflict begins. Most leaders respond to this by saying people need to communicate better. So they schedule more meetings. Have you ever heard that? Meetings after meetings, more meetings. They tell teams to collaborate. They send emails about teamwork. But the conflict continues. Why? Because communication problems are often structural problems. You cannot permanently fix division with motivational speeches. It does not work that way. If departments are measured differently, rewarded differently, organized separately, and disconnected operationally, then conflict is predictable, not accidental. Let's take a hospital example. An an example I'm most familiar with. Imagine this situation. Nurses are frustrated with administration. Administration says staff are resisting change. Meanwhile, nurses feel like undersatisfied. They feel excluded from decisions. They feel pressured by unrealistic expectations. Then administration introduces a new workflow. But frontline staff were never consulted. Now what happens? Resistance increases. Frustration grows. Meetings become tense. Trust decreases. Leadership might conclude employees have negative attitudes. But look deeper. Was the system designed for collaboration? Were frontline voices included? Were goals aligned? I'm not just talking about values, I'm talking about goals. Was communication flowing both ways? Did departments understand each other's pressures? If not, the organization created the conflict it is now experiencing. This is where emotional intelligence becomes essential. Emotionally intelligent leaders understand that conflict is often a symptom. It always is, not the disease. They pay attention to frustration between teams, defensive behavior, silence in meetings, lack of trust, blame language. They pay attention to those. And instead of immediately blaming personalities, they ask, what in this system is creating tension? That question changes leadership completely. Because emotionally intelligent leaders understand that people react to the environments they work in. Now, transformational leaders go even further. They don't just try to improve relationships. They redesign the conditions that shape relationships. How do they do that? They break down silos. They create shared goals. They improve coordination systems. They encourage cross-functional collaboration. It's not a silo, an isolated place, but they crisscross collaboration. They encourage cross-functional collaboration. They align departments around a common mission. Remember, your organization has a mission. The departments must congregate under that mission. They should not create their mini missions, because they understand, leaders understand that you cannot build organizational unity with divided systems. Servant leadership also changes this conversation. Servant leaders ask, how do I help teams succeed together? Not who is causing the problem. That's not the question to ask here. That's powerful. Because instead of protecting hierarchy, servant leaders focus on something different, something better. removing barriers, improving communication flow, supporting collaboration, helping departments understand one another. And over time, trust starts replacing territorial behavior. So, what can leaders do practically? Here are 5 important questions. Question 1. Are departments rewarded for organizational success or only departmental success? Because what gets rewarded shapes behavior. Number 2 question. Do teams understand each other's pressures, or is each department operating in isolation? Number 3. Are frontline employees included in decisions, or are changes constantly imposed from the top? Number 4. Is communication flowing across the organization, or only downward through hierarchy? And number 5. Are leaders solving tensions early or allowing frustration to quietly accumulate? If these systems are weak, conflict becomes inevitable. It becomes predictable. Let me give you a powerful reframe. Instead of asking, why can't departments get along? Start asking, how might our organizational design be creating division? That one question can completely change how leaders diagnose workplace conflict. So here's the bottom line. Departments often fight because organizations unintentionally create silo behavior. And great leaders understand that structure influences behavior. Systems shape relationships. And collaboration must be designed intentionally. Collaboration does not happen accidentally. It's a design. Because when organizations are fragmented, people eventually become fragmented too. This week, I want to challenge you. Look beyond personalities. Instead of immediately blaming individuals for workplace tension, examine the system surrounding them. Ask yourself a few questions. Ask yourself, where are departments disconnected? Where are goals misaligned? Where are communication barriers forming? Where might leadership unintentionally be creating competition? Because many organizational conflicts are not leadership mysteries. They are design problems. If you found this helpful, I'll be sharing insights like this every week, drawing from advanced leadership research and real-world practice. This is Vitalis Esala Leadership Lab, where management theory becomes real leadership practice. If you're currently facing a situation where you need clarity and a real decision, not just theory, I offer one-on-one clarity sessions. See you in the next video.